they had some travel problems getting back into town this week and so forth. And they send their apologies.
Thank you. Before we kick it off, pretty exciting news on 9/1. On Friday we received our temporary occupancy permit for Building A for the 911 building. So you could kind of see the end of the rainbow. We're getting to the end of the project, and it's pretty exciting to see something come to fruition like that. So great job.
Good morning, everyone. So, as the chairman said, we did substantially complete the Area A, which is the 911 portion, on Friday. So the group is starting to move in. I believe tomorrow is their first kind of big D-Day for the first portion of their vendors. The furniture will go in and we'll start to do all of their wiring and things like that. So we need to turn over that ahead of time for them so they all could kind of go hand in hand with the Area B portion so it all can get up and running at the same time. So that was a big milestone for the project on our end, and I know a lot of people were involved, from the county inspections to the punch list that we did to furniture doing the commissioning. So there's a lot of people that had to come together for that. So it went really well, and that was turned over on Friday. So that was the bigger update that we had. We're still on track for substantial complete for the Area B and everything else for that particular portion, which is the decel lane, the impound lot, the base building work, and all the site work. So we're ready on that end as well. For what happened as the last few weeks, we've completed the exterior cladding, the roof, the windows, the rough grading, and the asphalt binder course at the building and the decel lane, and then the concrete curb and the flat work were completed. Interior-wise, we've done all the MEP in-wall and above ceiling, the acoustic and the detention ceiling grid, and also completed the MDF rooms for both A and B. We're currently working on the impound lot earthwork and the asphalt at the south lot and the roof coping as well. And on the inside, we're working on finishing up the painting in Area B, some MEP trim, which is the cover plates, things of that nature, low voltage work and security work, and then trying to finalize the flooring in that area as well, mainly the vinyl and the tile. In the next 2 weeks, we hope to finish up the entire roof coping and all the exterior work, which is the lightning protection install, and then also grading the impound lot and grading the pond area over that, as well as finishing up Area B paint, continuing the trim, and then hoping to install the doors and the hardware, and then the final flooring system. So then we can start to slowly do the commissioning for Area B. So Area A was our big focus the last few weeks, as you can imagine. We've still been working on B, but now that we've kind of finished up A, we're going to do another kind of re-kick up of commissioning for B and make sure that, we've got lessons learned or what we could have done better or not, and just to kind of make sure that we hit the ground running for B and clean up A as best as we can.
How are we looking, Dave, with the progression for the move? Do we have everything lined up?
Would you like to give the committee just a briefing on that, Joe?
Joel, I've asked Joel to coordinate all of the move requirements, as well as the vacation of the First Midwest Bank building, which, as everyone knows, goes hand in glove. So, if you'd like, I was going to hold up on that a more formal update and try to get him on the agenda for his first.
If you'd rather wait, I just want to make
sure.
It doesn't.
That we're, I mean, it's underhand. I mean, it's.
That's my main focus, because a couple months ago we had discussed that we wanted to make sure that we had some hiccups, and we wanted to make sure that we were on the ball.
Yeah, next meeting's fine.
Okay, next meeting's fine.
It's going well.
False alarm.
Nice job.
Presentation.
That's how we
We're going to give you a chance to prepare.
Yeah.
No excuses.
Yes.
I'm ready.
That's how you break the ice, and now you're not nervous anymore.
We should give it a chance.
Are there any questions? Any questions to leave our Farnsworth?
Just to piggyback on Nicole's update, so we did complete our commissioning of Area A on Friday. 9-1. We do have some outstanding items that we actually provided a final snapshot of where we stood on Friday, and those items were included in the substantial completion letter for Area A. So we're working with Leopardo now and Joel as well to address those items in a timely manner. So we'll continue to work on that the next couple weeks. One note, based on discussions with Joel and Leopardo, we decided to push all of the training of the facility staff until the final substantial completion. It just made sense from a logistics perspective to have a nice clean turnover. In case we don't miss anything and there were gaps, let's just do training all at once at the end of the project. But there were certain systems that were given sort of a basic understanding of, because the building is that portion is actually turned over to the county, to make sure that they are familiar with the systems and can operate those over the next couple months before we have that formal turnover.
Okay, great.
I think that's a good point that you made, Jim, is so the substantial letter has things that we attach to it to make sure that we're all on the same page. One is the temporary C of O. So the county comes through, inspects it, and anything that they see, landscaping would be one. We're not done with that. They acknowledge that. We put it on the list to make sure that the final is all complete with that. Punch list would be another. We did the punch list prior to turning over. You do your best to get every T crossed, I dotted. There might be a few left. We put that on there so we're all on the same page. Commissioning is another one, similar to the punch list. Farnsworth calls it deficiency items, very similar. It's just items that need to be complete. We make sure that we're all on the same page. It gets attached as well, so we don't lose track of the things that need to be done. But from being able to turn over substantially so they can actually occupy the building, that's very usual. So there's not anything that's outstanding. Training, very similar, as Jim said. We decided that for them to utilize the building, we went through some minor training, but even that, those items, the generator, the Icaro system, some of those bigger items, mini training, but then we'll do a very full-blown training of all of those systems, so that way the county knows how to utilize them, and we'll even videotape them, so that way there's no confusion. So that was kind of a mini training to make sure that they could keep going, but that doesn't mean it's done by any means from a training standpoint.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you for the presentation. Next up under old business, we have the update on the courthouse delivery teams, White, Gilbane, and Farnsworth. Jason.
I don't need to take your call. I got enough of my own. Morning, everyone. So I've got a pretty light update. We're just continuing on track with the schedule. Since we last met, we turned over to Gilbane bid release 2. So I think there's six trade packages in that release. So that was August 25th. And then we're working hard on bid release 3, which goes out 9/22. That's really intended to be kind of the balance of the scope. There's a 4th package in terms of how Gilbane is bidding it out, but we're trying to get most of our documentation done at 9/22. So that's going well. We're also working with Farnsworth, trying to clean up any old open comments from the commissioning side, as well as Gilbane has been doing a lot of good interdisciplinary document coordination review and giving us some checklists on that. So we're just pulling all that stuff together to finish up the design and get that last package out. So that's all I have.
Great. Any quick questions for Jason? All right, Tom?
Hey, good morning, everybody. Tom Leonard, Gilbane. I wanted to back up and just kind of talk about, we did have the 823 outreach event over at the Pipe Fitters Hall. Appreciate everybody showing up. That was very good. Turnout, I think, from the owner, from the county, from the design team, construction, everybody's attendance at that. And I think we had over 30, 35 contractors there. So I think that had a lot of good attendance, and I think a lot of the people that attended were very serious about bidding it. Had some good conversations with erectors and steel people, mechanical guys. So thanks to everybody who did attend that and support it. And so that's the last one we've got, unless we thought we needed something later down the road as we got more toward, excuse me, the beginning of the year for design release 4, which actually goes out 1/10, I think. And as Jason mentioned, then we did receive the bid docs on 8/25 for design release 2. Those are going out tomorrow. We're preparing the notice today to give it to Rita that goes in the paper for advertising those packages. Those will be due on 9/28. So those will go out tomorrow. And then we've got their design release 2 estimate that we forwarded, I think, Friday evening out to the team for what we saw as the estimates for those 6 bid packages. So we've got some, as Jason mentioned, design coordination reviews. I think we sent one out 8/25, or I should say 8/15/91 for the, because it was a compliance review check on the bid documents that our guys looked at. From what we saw in the documents that might have needed to be picked up on, tweaked a little bit, and then 9/1, I think Friday we sent another one out for exterior masonry for the rain screen, and then also for curtain wall windows. So we continue to review the drawings. We'll continue to look at those as we go forward throughout the whole rest of this bid period, all the way through the beginning of next year. So that'll be an ongoing process as well. Starting to design release 3 scopes. Those are the packages, or the drawings, as Jason alluded to, that we'll get on 9/22. And those are the drawings in for design releases 3 and 4. And then that's it. So we've got those to prepare to get those out on 10/10 for that group of packages, which will be primarily the MEP, a few of the other interior, exterior packages. And that'll be an ongoing effort then too for estimating, design review, comments to the design team, and scope writing. And we're preparing to move our trailer, our second trailer, out to the site. Hopefully we get it in place by 9/15. We've been talking to the electricians, a couple electrical contractors, actually 3 of them, to get bids on. So we'll put that together, get that in place, and hope to have the trailers in place by 9/15. And that's it. We got a call today, I think, with Farnsworth at 1? 2. Yeah.
So the first bid package that came back was very favorable, but you were in the process of certifying. Has that bid been certified?
Yes.
It has.
With the elevator guys.
Good. Let's continue to have that same fortune when we're moving forward in our bid process.
Award recommendation forthcoming on the 19th.
And then it's perfect. Thank you. Any questions for Tom? Yeah.
Tom, I know we had a couple of discussions about staging areas, and where you're going to have trailers, and we have a couple hundred construction workers working on this thing. You're going to need someplace to park. How are you doing on that?
Well, the parking, I think, kind of solves itself. We talked about some of the parking decks that are available to these guys, very minimal cost. We'll write that into the specs, I think, to tell them just where it is, because there just is not enough street parking. I know you and I appreciate the look at that lot just a little bit south of the tracks, but I think that's probably in use. The 2 times I went by there, I know there's jury pool people that park in there, so I don't know that we can do much with that. And then we're going to need some lay-down area, which we know is limited. We're telling the bidders that, and we'll have to continue to work with Dave, Joel, to see what we can do on anything in that lot. But we're telling these guys, a lot of it's got to be just-in-time delivery.
Yeah, when we looked at that, we looked at the county lot south of the tracks, and the day I went by there was, I think, 54 empty parking spaces in that thing, and then over closer to the construction site, there's other empty spaces, and I don't know if it comes down to it, there may be some work that we can do at the county level to kind of consolidate work, and maybe for the time period that the courthouse is under construction, actually assign people a parking space or something in order to free up as much parking as we can. I think it's going to be a problem.
What do we figure the amount of people per day on average would be on site?
Yeah, we'll ramp up. I would imagine with the excavation, concrete and stuff, we'll probably start out with 30, 40 guys, and then we'll ramp up probably to some point where we'll have over 200, 250 guys on site.
Wow.
Construction workers, something carpool.
Shuttle?
Yeah.
Shuttle.
Well,
Mike?
I was just gonna ask, was at the meeting the other day, is today the day that ComEd's doing their manhole?
I think so.
Is that today?
I appreciate that.
well, while you elaborate on it, okay. So, we were still having issues with utilities. ComEd now has stepped up, so we're on track now with ComEd. Well, I don't know if we're on track, but we need to get on track, because certainly they can hold you up.
We had an extensive and detailed meeting with them last week, brought in their engineers, and went through the schedule, went through the requirements. They're supposed to be out there today with some inspection work, on-site inspection work underneath in the manholes. I haven't had a chance to go out there to see if they've got people doing that, but I will.
Well, let me ask, because when they come out and look, I assume that we sit down with ComEd and talk about the schedule, talk about when certain things need to be done, so then they get into our scheduling. I mean, we work around them, our scheduling works around them. I'm asking the question, probably more for you, Tom, I suppose, and Dave.
The meeting, I think, the dates they gave us on Thursday, and I wasn't at the meeting, but I think they said they were gonna be done like in November, didn't they? With their engineering.
We'll have a better idea of where they're situated on the 15th, and that's the next time we're getting back together with them.
So we'll have an update for the next
Well,
committee meeting.
They're gonna come back to us and tell us if what was suggested is gonna work by the 15th. But then they've gotta do their engineering and stuff, which will take till.
Well, let me ask this utilities in general, I assume that they can impact our schedule.
Yes.
In a significant way.
Yes.
At what point you feel comfortable then saying, I think we're okay around, we'll be on schedule with the utilities? I mean, at what point do you make that determination? When do you get that commitment?
I think AT&T has started their work.
They have.
The permanent relocation down on the south side, down on that southeast corner, and then they're gonna, run west with the south side of the site along Washington. So they have started that. Dave's been pushing, we've been pushing them, but they're critical to getting all that in so that they can take let us demolish and place the existing copper and fiber optic on the site. So I think we've probably got a better comfort level with AT&T now, with what they've got to do, because they're the star of the show as far as getting everything off the site. Nicor, they've got their gas main that runs, from the Ottawa, and then it goes west, feeds the sheriff's building, and then that's it. So I think we've had conversation with them. I don't right in front of me have the schedule, but I'll get that for you as to when they're going to do their reload work. And then ComEd. We need to get those guys out of there too. Fortunately, though, they just, are feeding the sheriff's building from the north and come in to the vaults there in the basement. And I don't know if they said anything else in the meeting on Thursday that had anything else that they needed to do. I know we've talked about going around the west side to feed our temporary power and to be able to use what's there now to bring it around. But I don't know that they've got anything else in their queue that's...
If I may, I'd like to...
Yeah, thanks.
Bottom line is I think in the way we see it, is that with respect to the temporary power requirements that we will need for various means and methods during the construction phase, the demolition and construction phase, I think we'll be in very good shape for that, because we will essentially utilize the service that feeds the current First Midwest building to power up anything that we need in the way of temporary sourcing for electricity. However, I'm not going to feel good about this or great about this until they deliver their permanent engineered solution to our dual feed power for the new courthouse and to where they locate their new equipment and then come underneath Washington or however that ends up happening, but that's probably the most likely scenario. to feed the new building. So that's the big ticket, and we're not there yet. We'll have a better handle on where they're going to be when we reconvene on the 15th. But I also would like to remind the committee too that we started these discussions with their engineering group, with their intergovernmental affairs people, back in, I think, December of 2016. We had a meeting in April, a follow-up meeting in June, and there was supposed to be some deliverables in June, which didn't happen. We had another follow-up meeting last week, and we kind of threw down the gauntlet and said, hey guys, we need to get this thing wrapped up. I think that they're in a lot of ways, they're kind of beholden to their own internal processes. We get that, but they've got plenty of time. So they need to step up.
I know we talk to these guys every week. Dave does. I know Dave Lesniak does too. We'll get a status, and then maybe we put out an email this week too that confirms where we are after our discussions with them this week. Because yeah, it's crucial.
Absolutely.
We had,
Critical.
early on in my tenure here on the board, we actually had a committee, an Energy and Utility Resource Committee, and we were having trouble with comment at that point because of our new growth and the expansions that were going on. At that time, they actually created a position called the Vice President of New Development. And I wonder if we're not getting the kind of feedback that support that we need now, that we might not need to go in and have a conversation at a higher level than what we're having right now. Because in the past, they've been very open to that when the channels haven't been working the right way. And we were able to get a lot done, not only with the county, but with a lot of the local communities and things that were going on at the time.
I'd wait till after their next meeting, so I think this take any further action.
But
See where we're at.
yeah, and then that's what we should be
At
able
that
to
point,
do. At that point, if that's not something that's taking place and we're not getting the, because this is way too much, too important, too many things hanging out there.
We need to give a bigger push, you need to let us know.
Plus, we're carrying a big allowance for the new service within the construction budget, and the sooner we're able to get a more precise figure on that new service, the cost of that new service, the better off we are with respect to the project itself. So there's a lot at stake, and I agree.
Continue to keep us updated on that. Farnsworth, have anything to add?
Just real quick, I mean, Jason basically covered it. We're working with White to address our open design review comments in preparation for bid package 3 release on 9/22.
Does any board members have any questions for anyone? All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Before we get to new business, I wanted to ask Nick a question. Nick, under other old business, I saw that the intergovernmental agreement was not on there. Are we getting any closer, or do we need to?
We've asked the state's attorney to work on the draft, making the changes to the draft, so I don't know if Mary, is there any?
Yeah, initially we thought City of Joliet was going to go forward with that agreement. They have not, so last week we started working on it, and we're hopeful to get it done, you know, any day now. I was hoping they had it done Friday, and it may be done, so Mom was working on it for me, but I have not had an opportunity to talk to him.
So let me ask you, Jim, can we move that to the executive session? Because if it is going to be done in the next few days, we're not going to have another capital executive.
Well, we do have to send it to City of Joliet, so I don't know that you want to move it for approval at committee until City of Joliet has approved our draft.
Okay.
I mean, it's, you'll have another meeting, if you want to do it before they, you can do it at
Okay.
second executive committee.
If they've had a chance, okay, thank you.
Because that's a week from Thursday.
Thanks, Nick. All right, first item under new business, authorizing the county executive to execute a lease extension with Paul Sills for the use of the rental property. This is for the radio lab.
Second.
Morning.
Good morning. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, well, that was quick and easy.
I have 2 more though.
Okay. Next on the agenda is authorizing the county executive to execute a lease agreement for the Willow Communications Corporation for the use of the radio communications tower.
Second.
Probably moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by a voice vote of aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next on the agenda is authorizing the county executive to execute a tower and building license agreement for the use of the radio tower site owned by BP Pipelines North America Incorporated. Probably moved in second. Any questions, discussions, anything? All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next is authorizing the, you're welcome. Thank you. You convinced them. Next is authorizing the county executive to extend lease agreement with Burris West Building LLC for the temporary storage of impound vehicles. Been moved in second. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Sit down, Dave. You could come up for this one now. Next on the agenda is awarding contract to Bablaki Sign Company for signage at the Will County Public Safety Complex.
This bid package represents the fifth bid package on this project, bid package number 5. And I'll let Nicole go with the details.
Good morning, everyone. I'm not sure if you have the award recommendation or the change order at your disposal.
Yeah, it's in our packet.
Okay, just making sure. No, you're okay. Thank you very much. Perfect. All right, so what you have attached is the award recommendation for Pablaki. Pablaki was the only bidder that we received. We went out to many bidders, and they were the ones that we received. We've used them in the past. They are a great company, so we are recommending them for $198,359. And this was for the signage. Then you were given a change order as well for the full work, because if you recall, there's a monument sign with that that has some additional work that the other subcontractors need to do. Call it the foundations and the concrete.
We don't have it.
That's coming
next month.
Okay,
This is
so
just
this
purely
is
for
just-
the, yeah, I just wanted you to be aware that this is just for the actual signage. So the monument's included in here, and then any wayfinding signage for the building.
Mike?
All right, so I have several questions. One, why was there no estimate for signage? Didn't we know, have an idea what it was going to cost us?
We did carry an estimate, and I think it was over $200,000 in the initial budget. However, we didn't include it in bid package number 4 because we weren't there simply yet.
So you weren't going to bid it, that's why.
Right.
But I mean, there still should have been construction man estimate for signage is 0. Looks like you guys didn't do something.
So to answer your question, the signage was never included in our construction budget. A lot of times it's determined either FF&E or in the construction. At that time, it wasn't decided who was going to carry that. So we only had an allowance in there for that. And I believe, if I recall, I can check, it was about $200,000, but we were never hired to do that.
So we did have it budgeted.
Budget, that I cannot answer. I can just tell you that construction-wise.
It's budgeted, okay. Then my second question on this is we only have one bidder. Maybe Rita can tell us, were we working off a national contract on their pricing? Or? No?
No, it was a
No, we
competitive bid.
And we just were comfortable with just one bid?
We weren't necessarily comfortable with one bid. We would have liked to have seen as many bids possible to for comparative analysis and for best value and so forth and so on. However, we approached a number of different firms. We probably bid on our behalf as well. And we only received one. So if there is reluctance to accept this award recommendation, we can put it back out on the street. However, that would mean that we might not have the signage that we're looking for when we need it.
Right.
That would be my only caution. But it's unfortunate. Yes, we always like to see more than one. No one wants to see more than that.
Okay. I got Don and then Jim.
I was just going to ask, how many other signage contractors picked up drawings or whatever specifications? Do we know that? Or, I mean, how many people expressed interest in bidding?
I would have to look into that to know exactly how many, but we always go out to at least 3, if not more, but I know that we always go out to more than 3. However, I can honestly say that we probably went out to a lot more than that. The exact number, I would have to check.
I'm guessing you guys went out to a lot more than
Yeah.
that. I'm just wondering how many of them
I would
actually
have to-
responded and asked for a copy or looked at the specifications or.
Yeah, I would have to check to see how many had interest in it, but usually if we don't have an expressed interest of more than 3, we would extend the bidding process. So I would think that there would be, but I can check the actual number, absolutely.
And I got Jim.
Well, I don't feel comfortable with one bid. You know, I don't know exactly what the process for Leopardo is. Contact people, see if they have an interest, ask them if they're gonna bid, you know, if they're not gonna bid, and so forth. But I'd like to see the firms that were contacted. Dave, I'd ask you to follow up and ask why they didn't submit a bid, or if there was something that they just slipped their minds, or they're too busy. I mean, I'd like to see some justification of why we should accept this bid and not go back out, understanding that it could put us a little behind on signage. But I don't think it's the most crucial thing in the world.
Absolutely not. We can absolutely get you the amount, the time spent, how long the bidding process lasted, and all of those things, because to have one is not unusual depending on the time of the year, and, you know, same with elevators and generators. It's very common to have one bidder for many reasons, but we can get you.
I know it's for elevators, but there's only a handful of companies, but I would assume, and maybe my assumption is wrong, that there would be more signage type.
Depends on the bidders and all that stuff, what the scope is, how big the scope is, their union, non-union, all of those things come into play. So it is very common to have one bidder, no matter how much you, and even the day of, you think you're going to, you call and you check and you think you're going to get 5, and then one shows up and you could
But we
do all those
originally
phone
thought
calls.
that it was gonna be around $200,000. That was the number that you guys had put in, based on buildings of this magnitude.
I can honestly check that to know, because again, we did not budget it, we just said, hey, if we want to do it, you know, we could put an allowance towards it, not knowing, because I think too, the scope was never defined early on to say, are you gonna even do a monument sign? Because sometimes you don't do monument signs, sometimes you do. Sometimes you don't do wayfinding signage, sometimes you do. So early on, it was just, we need an address and that's it. And then the scope developed for whatever reason, so.
Guess I got Mike and Jim again.
Yeah, so, but Dave, we had it in the budget, but we didn't have the monument sign in the budget originally, right? So are we going out, the monument sign, is that going out to the same bidders? Do we expect no bids on that except from this one company, or?
No, the monument sign itself is included in the contract. However, the infrastructure, the concrete and the steel and the face brick and the flashing and the electrical, the lighting, you know, the lighting fixture,
That's the change order.
those are not. Just the signage itself is included in.
Including the monument sign is included in that one idea. Just not the infrastructure, yeah.
Right.
I think I can clarify this a little bit more. If you guys recall, DLR a few months ago, they were contracted to design the signage. So if you recall, it wasn't in their contract scope as well. So it's the same thing where DLR was then contracted, because everyone said, yes, let's go ahead to design the signage. Now this is us coming back and saying, okay, just like they were awarded the contract to design the signage, this is now us being awarded an additional cost to complete the signage because it wasn't in the construction contract. So I think it's hard, you can't budget versus construction contract are two separate things. There could have been a pot of money, if you will, outside the contract, just wasn't in the Leopardo construction GMP because it wasn't decided at that time that you did want to give us that to complete the work. If that helps a little bit more.
Well, I'm going to talk about the budget now. And you're absolutely right. When we did the construction budget, we left things out because we were driving to, we want to make sure we could drive to the budget that we set forth. I'm writing this more to a statement, so you know. you know, so Dave, we said, okay, you know, we'll take certain things and not include them, signage being one of them. And there was some other items in there. Landscaping, furniture, a number of other things. And when Mike asked about the budget, was that included in the budget? In my recollection, we went forward with a budget for construction. I don't recall ever revisiting those other items and whether, how it was in the budget or not in the budget. Did we ever have that discussion? So when I hear it's in the budget, Dave, I know in your mind it's in the budget. You know, you work with this day to day, you know, there was, you know, but I don't think we ever really went over that portion of now what was gonna be included or, included in maybe the construction budget, or what I was gonna say outside the construction budget for the total budget. I do think it'd be helpful for this committee maybe to go over that again, Dave, because I think there's maybe not a clear understanding. Would you agree? I mean,
Yes, I'll be glad to.
so I think we need to know what was outside the construction budget and what dollar amounts now are being allocated, just so everybody is informed and gets on the same page. And I think kind of avoid this kind of discussion, of, you know, what was in or out of the construction budget and what we're gonna put in the construction budget. What could be change orders for DLR and Leopardo and so forth. So how we're gonna bring those items forward, I think would be helpful. Maybe we still need to determine some of that, I'm not sure.
Let's have that for the 19th, the
I'll
meeting.
put together a summary for that. Yeah, absolutely.
Just out of curiosity, and I don't want to get too deep in the weeds with the numbers, but right now, it's been favorable construction. We are under budget. If we were
Under budget on the construction
on the
budget.
construction budget.
Yeah.
We're under budget on the
Bringing
construction
this
budget.
up.
And we paid for this. Would we still be under budget on the construction budget?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We need to.
Yeah, let's see.
So you want to, so do we want to save this for the 19th?
Yeah.
Want to come back with it so we could get some answers?
Motion table.
Motion's been put on the floor to table it. A second. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we tabled it to the 19th. Thank you.
Understood.
There is no other new business. Is there any public comment? Joel, you want to get a chance to talk, buddy? No public comment? No, I have nothing. There's no need for an executive session. Someone like to make a motion to adjourn? Motion is properly second. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you. Sorry, Joel.